Hello.
Hi, so nice to have you.
Thanks for having me, Ovia. But then this is also for adventures in
In
theater with them.
Theatreland,
That's pretty
yes.
cool. We're seeing your stars all over different shows in the West End. It's just
Yes,
exciting.
we're celebrating amazing people like you guys
Oh, thank
and
you.
all the talent behind the scenes as well. Yeah, well, that was nice and cheesy and formal.
That we've gotten that out of the way.
Yeah, the introduction's done.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. How did you get into musical theater and acting?
Wow, that's a very loaded question actually. I never really have an easy way to answer that. But musical theater has always been in my blood. I started watching it very young back in the Philippines. My mom and my dad and my siblings, we all loved musical theater. Um, I'm not going to reveal my age because that's my secret. But I was very young and the internet wasn't a thing yet. I have um, recordings of these amazing Broadway shows and West End shows, particularly Miss Saigon and Les Miserables, that was constantly played in our house. And I grew up in that. I grew up in that world. I loved, and then when I first, I think my folks, I want to say the first show I've watched was a Philippine production of Les Miserables.
Okay.
And I just, it was a sense memory for me. And I was very, very young. And I didn't really remember the story. I just remember being just swept away by the whole experience, by the lights, the costumes, the music. Because, yeah, it was a full orchestra. And I remember in that particular theater in the Philippines, there was a sense memory to the smell of the air conditioning. It was a good smell, and then like the carpeted seats. I had such a visceral sense memory of that walking into the theater, and every time I saw a show as I grew up, I would always remember that. That feeling. There's an excitement when you're hearing the orchestra warm up before the show starts, and when the lights dim. It was just like something that really bit me, and I guess in the business we call that when you got bitten by the bug, right? By the theater bug, and once you get bitten, you don't look back. I just thought, wow, I want to be on that stage. I didn't know why. It wasn't so much because they were all glamorous or they were being applauded. It was just the world on stage was like a fantasy world. I could escape and anything could happen in that in on the stage. Sets, costumes, it was just magic. And I just wanted to live in that and not just watch it. Do you know? I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm making sense.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, so much, don't worry.
yeah, so that was my first encounter, and then in the Philippines we don't really have drama schools, but we have summer stock workshops. So school season, and then once summer happens and school is off for the summer, um, stagey kids like me would go into a summer workshop, which is facilitated by these really incredible theater companies, and you'd be in doing theater games and learning about theater and drama and musical theater for 2 months, and then you have like a little showcase. And I did that every summer until I did my first professional gig on the very stage that I talked about
Oh,
when I was 11 years old. Yeah, it was for Evita, a big Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, big cast, um, and a few of them are actually now in London as well. They and all over the world. From that cast, they're all they've gone to work all over the world. But yeah, that was my first professional gig, and I never stopped since. And yeah, and then that brought me here eventually.
that was amazing. Especially it's so like full circle as well to be on the same stage. That is just
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah.
Wow. Any advice you'd give to aspiring performers or stagey kids like yourself?
Um, Follow the love. And then it's a cheesy advice, but the love will get you to a place where you're gonna keep working on it. Because whatever you decide to do, and this goes for any craft, particularly I can't even speak English, particularly in the arts, you're gonna really get sick of it because the more you train in it, you're gonna get like I love drawing and I love painting. I'm not a professional artist. I wish I was. In another life, maybe I would have been. But the amount of practice of drawing hands and feet and noses and eyes and painting, it's gonna make you like sick of it. So you need to zone in and follow the love. So especially in musical theater, there are gonna be times wherein your body and your mind will give up because it's just hard work. And it's tiring, it's fatiguing, you're going to get burnt out. But if you zero in on the love of the craft and not the love of the output, not the love of the result, but the love of the craft and the process, um you're going to go very, very far. um I used to be very ambitious and want the end result, until I grew in the craft a little deeper and I realized that I was more in love with the process and the rehearsal and the discovery and the creating rather than the end result. The end result is just icing. That's just the finish, and that's for the audience. That's absolutely a generous act for the audience to enjoy. Um, but for me, what I relish is the process of creating and the discovery along the way. And yeah, my advice would be to learn how to love that, love the craft, and follow the love of that, because all of the hard work which comes with developing your art and develop and honing your skills will only be a fruit of how much you love the craft.
Remember how I used to say you blow my mind away with your talent? So well put. And I love that you found, your love of the crafting process when you
Yeah,
got that's
I
just
mean,
amazing.
it's hard to. I'll be honest. It's hard to love the industry. This industry is really ruthless. It's competitive. You're going to get a lot of rejections. The audition process is going to affect you. It's going to hurt you. You're going to get wounded. Something like the pandemic, when you remove the performance from the actor who lives to perform and lives to act and create, all of a sudden has nothing. It's going to hurt you. So if you love the industry, if you love just the effects of it, it's going to burn you out. It's going to really affect you. But if you love the process, there's always an opportunity to create, even when you're on your own, reading plays, reading books on technique, like just growing yourself. And if the love is in the development, and not the end result, then you will be limitless. You can genuinely grow old in this craft and still love it and not resent the industry or the rejections or whatever. Because it is ruthless. There's a lot to you know there's a lot of hardship in this craft that we are in. The business side especially is quite ruthless and soulless. But ironically, and almost like a paradox, the creation of the art is so soulful. And if you focus on that, I think you'll go far. And I keep telling myself this as well, when I get jaded or, disheartened or discouraged. So,
That was just so beautifully put. Also, you mentioned painting,
mm-hmm.
drawing. Just curious, have you ever drawn the characters that you've performed so far, like in a little sketchbook?
Yeah, actually, if I have usually if it's my drawing and my paintings come when I have a lot of inspiration while I'm, let's say, doing a show or creating a character. When I have a lot of inspiration and I need, like, it's residual, like it's just overflowing. If I can't, if performing it or creating the character is not enough, which it should be, if there's a little bit more, if I have time on my hands and my mind is just buzzing, I always get a sketchbook and I start sketching and painting. For Heather's, when I did Heather's, actually my going away present was I did a little caricature drawing of each of the characters. And that was my going away present for everybody in the West End that I was on in Heather's with. Um, Unfortunately, like for example, Death Note, we had zero time. Like our rehearsal was like 2 weeks, and then Palladium, and then the lyrics. So I mean, I would have loved to if I had more time in my literally on my hands. If I had more time, I would have done that. But I did, my going away card for the cast was something an artwork I did as well. And I just printed that out. It was a digital art piece. I turned it into a card, and then I just wrote that, used that. But if I had more time, I would have drawn everybody. Uh, I don't know if they would have liked it, but
Sure, they would have loved it. Okay, two things I've learned. One, I need to work on production with you to get hold of one of your amazing paintings.
Mhm.
And number two, potentially you could give it to the cast again when you all come back together, if you come back together.
If we come
Okay,
back together.
moving on. So like so obviously you have been popping up everywhere this year from being the lead in three musicals, one day only concerts, West End events, and just collaborations with brands and smaller blogs and interviews like us. How do you have time for this? Like, how do you find the work-life balance and how do you unwind? Also, congratulations. You deserve it so much. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot, and especially like it really warms my heart when I do stage door and I see you and I see other people who have seen me in other shows. Some people have seen me in Lion King, which was on tour everywhere else but London. Some people have seen me in my like in Killing the Cat at the Riverside Studios or in Then Now and Next in Southern Playhouse. I mean, these are it really warms my heart because we don't like I think as I can't speak for all actors, but at least for me, I just go into the job and do the job and try to do the job as well as I can. Um, the notoriety and the recognition really again is a bonus. Like, uh, I try and make sure that I bring to true life these characters that are written, and I try to honor the writers that have created these characters who've trusted me to embody these characters and to sing these voices, these songs, and bring voice to these characters. And that's all I'm focused on. And if people enjoy it enough to come back and see more of my work, that's really flattering and that's really humbling actually. And it just inspires me to keep going. I don't find it difficult um, to do this, to do again, because this is something I love. So I don't find it to be a burden to, like, as you say, and like it's so weird because from the outsider, when I say outsider, like you guys, the audience, it looks like I'm popping up everywhere, but in my head, I'm just like my calendar is just there, and I'm just slotting in things that I can do that all line up to what I love doing, which is great. And I'm very blessed and fortunate to be in that position to be able to do what I love consistently and in such a pace and it's in such a schedule as well. I mean, it's I must be doing something right. And yeah, I have a great agent who really takes care of me, looks after me, keeps my calendar full. But it's easy. How do I unwind? I think I literally am an old man, literally. So after work, after rehearsals, I like going home. Maybe have a pint with, if I'm with Dean, we'll have a little pint and then we go home. But I like coming up, I like doing a routine. I like being able to go to the gym. That's unwinding for me. Listening to podcasts, listening to new music. Um, Chilling out and watching Ghosts on BBC, uh, iPlayer, or like some reality show. Are our most recent guilty pleasure now, me and the missus, is Sort Out Your Life or Dragon's Den. But Sort Out Your Life is so cool. Like, oh, like because I live in a matchbox. It's a one bedroom matchbox. It's very small. So we're very conscious about clutter. So when we see like sort out your life and see these families that are sorting out their life with all these clutter and how it's emotional and it's like I'm always crying at the end of every episode. I'm such a crier. I'm such a softie. But yeah, so that's how I unwind. But then again, doing these stuff, doing the concerts, those are all really enjoyable for me as well. And I think, well, you've seen me and you've seen the work, and I think I have a very hard time hiding how much I enjoy the work.
You do.
Uh, I mean, you can really see it, and in what I do. So
Just seeing you guys supporting each other in the way like she keeps you grounded. Just
I,
like from your posts and stuff. I just love your relationship. It's honestly goals for me. So
oh, thank you. Yeah, she's a very good egg, and she keeps me to be a good egg. And yeah, I mean, all of my performances are for her and only her, really. Um, Everyone else doesn't matter.
oh,
um, but yeah, and you can put that in the interview. Now, October 9th, Rolls will never play at no, not crap, Clapham Grand. That's a hard word, Clapham Grand. That's hard to say, especially when you haven't had coffee yet. Um, yeah, so that's going to be exciting. The lineup of that is incredible. And I have to learn my song actually, but I'm excited for the song I'm singing. I'm not going to say from what show, but
okay.
it is the Jason Robert Brown song, and I'm very excited. Again, it's a role I will never play, and
Never
I'm
know.
and I well, and a song that I will never sing until the concert. The Halloween concert with Shanae and West End stars. It's going to be great. I'm going to be reunited with my friends. Jacob is going to be part of it. We were together in Vanara, and he's now being JD on tour. Um, and yeah, it's going to be good. Amy is going to be in it as well, who was our Rem in Death Note, and she's amazing. We might be doing a number together. Wink, wink. So that's going to be fun.
Oh, that is so exciting for you. You've got so much lined up. Plus the announcement of your next big musical.
Yeah, I which I
I'm
can't say
trying
yet.
so hard.
I don't know when they're going to announce, but it is coming up soon. So that's exciting.
I'm hoping you get some time to rest before diving into all of these new projects, though.
October for me will be kind of rest.
Okay.
There's still some exciting stuff lined up that I can't talk about
Of course.
for October. But it's been this is rest for me. I think work, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean work would be when I'm in a show because rehearsals get intense, and the as you go through the weeks of rehearsals, you approach tech. Tech is always intense, and then when you open, it kind of settles. But then you have your nights doing the show and all that. So that's work, which I absolutely love. In between shows for me is the rest. So being able to do podcasts like these and interviews and some concerts, getting back to the gym to find some sort of regularity. That's rest for me. And Yeah, I'm in a state of rest now. I've been sleeping longer, getting back
Absolutely
to my
great.
8 to 9 hours of sleep. So
I want to say that you're looking very light at the moment, but that seems
light.
easy.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, it's nice. It's nice to sleep in and catch up and recover physically. The whole Death Note process, I posted about it in my Instagram. It was intense because like I needed to really be razor sharp in my focus and my nutrition, my recovery. It's not an easy thing. You've seen it twice, thrice. How many times have you seen it?
Three
thrice.
times.
You've seen it, so it's like it's not an easy sing. It's an athletic
Oh my God.
feat. So yeah, I needed to really make sure that I had my multivitamins in. I wasn't gonna allow myself to get sick, catch the flu. The weather was changing at the same time, so hay fever was high. You know, humidity, it was weird. So I was really, really being, uh, I call it. I was in Kira detention center. I wasn't really going out much. After rehearsals or a long day, I'd go straight home, rest, sleep, get as much hydration as possible. But now I can kind of relax a little bit, eat some nice food once in a while. Still with a goal, I have a goal in mind, but kind of relax a bit and spend time with my catch up with friends, and all that.
What would your dream role in musical theatre be?
I get asked this question a lot. Before the pandemic, I had like a vision board with like post-its and all that of my dream roles or whatever. When the pandemic hit and everything was taken away, my wife and I were like, looked at our vision board. We're like, you know what? Let's pack it up. Let's pack it up and let's put it away. So I will honestly say I don't have a dream role um anymore. I used to, but I don't no longer have dream roles to aspire to. I just aspire to do good work. And it when I changed my mindset, um and my sense of ambition, when it wasn't when I didn't put on a pedestal certain roles or costumes to wear or songs to sing, it surprised me because one after the other I was booking jobs that I had no idea what they were, but that opened up another opportunity and opened up another opportunity. And like Heather's, for example, which is what was my West End debut, I had no idea what the show was about. I didn't know. I had no idea how big it was, how much of a cult following it had. And the music, I had no idea. I literally had to learn it and submit it for my audition, all that. Um, and it turns out it's one of the best experiences of my life. You know, yeah, and Lion King was up there, Simba was definitely up there, but it was only when I took down my vision board and my ambition post-its and I had no idea what was going to happen that I booklined it was so weird, all of these things fall into place. And I did so many shows like Then Now and Next, for example. I didn't know what that show was about. um and when I auditioned for it, I just went in with the sides and the song, and it turned out to be one of the most beautiful experiences I've had, with an amazing cast and an amazing creative team. So yeah, so that's my long answer to a very short question about dream roles. I do have dream theaters to perform in, regardless of what the role is. I do want to do the National Theater at one point. I do want to step on the Swan Theater in Stratford upon Avon. And I do want to do the Old Globe at one point. Those are some venues. Barbican would be a great venue to be in as well. I want to do something with the Crucible Theater in Sheffield, the Curve in Leicester, like really exciting stuff. So, I don't know what shows these will be, but I want to eventually visit these theaters and be able to do work in them.
As someone who's from Leicester, please do Curve.
Oh yeah, the Curve, like they do a lot of great stuff, and yeah, I'd like to do one at the Curve.
You've obviously booked the lead in three separate musicals this year, which is a record, I believe. So how did it feel getting the news of each role?
Um, I was like, yes, I have work. I can pay rent. Yes.
Love this.
Literally, that's what I felt. But no, yeah, I got yeah, my wife calls it like a hat trick. You did a hat trick. I'm like, what? Yeah, I mean it's still quite surprising. It's quite exciting. and three very different shows as well. Like I remember I booked my three shows before the first one even started. So I booked all three before I even started rehearsals for Then Now and Next. So I was like, what? I mean, it's nice. I mean, I had a conversation with my agent. I'm like, it's just so comforting to know that the rest of my year is already kind of taken care of. And that's what any actor would love to have, this sense of like continuity and sustainability, knowing that you do have work. So that was my first reaction, like, all right, I have rent. I can survive. And yeah, I mean, it's always humbling to know that these incredible creatives trust you to breathe life into these roles. Um, and that's an honor and a privilege, but also a really great responsibility. So I make sure that I prove them right in their decision by staying match fit, being on top of my vocals, on my voice, my nutrition, everything. I visit my voice coach regularly. I visit and have sessions with my acting coach regularly just to make sure that my instrument is sharp and sharper than ever so that I can honor this responsibility.
Was there ever a moment that you felt overwhelmed by knowing that you had three lead roles in a year?
No.
I love I love that.
I was overwhelmed. No. Um, Humbled and grateful. Yes. Sometimes it will dawn on me and say, "Wow, like it's happening," you know. But I try not to get. I try to ride the wave and not get drowned by it. Because I'm paid to ride the wave. That's what I'm hired to do. Uh, and when I step back and start to what's the word, put on a pedestal how big this accomplishment is, I can get consumed by it, and it becomes a vanity thing. It becomes a vanity thing about like, oh, I'm so great, I did this. I mean, and once you let that seep in, it it detracts you from the actual work. And I remind myself that I was hired to do the work, not hired to feel good about it. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I was hired to get my hands dirty and focus on the job. And that's what I do.
Can I just say you were probably the most humble and grounded person I've ever met. I remember seeing you after Then Now Next stage show, telling you were amazing, and your eyes just welled up, and I was like, okay. Um, honestly,
Oh,
like,
thank you. And it's nice. It's always nice to hear it. Yeah, it's nice to hear the genuine reactions of people who love theater and who see you do the work and who love the work that you do. It's always so good. Again, the audience, like you're paying hard-earned money to see us do our thing. It's hard-earned money, and I honor that and I respect that. Um, because it's not a cheap thing to keep watching theater, and it's not a cheap thing, especially when I see people like you and other fans who keep watching all of the stuff I do. That means they're paying money, good money, to come see me do the work. And it's really quite um you know humbling, and I'm so grateful, and it's because of you guys that I keep doing what I do.
do you think we will see Then Now and Next or Death Note make a return because they were both so beautiful yet sadly limited runs?
I hope so. That's my answer. Good shows like this need to have a longer life. Then Now and Next, the way it touched so many people and spoke to so many people, you don't really see much shows about grief, but also give you that hope. And it's a chamber musical with an incredible score and just a nice ensemble piece around the central character, Alex. played by the amazing Alice Fern. Um, and everybody in that show was so good, and we're just genuine friends after that show, all of us. And we still catch up once in a while if we can, but everybody's so busy because everybody's amazing. Um, yeah, I mean, I would love to see Then Now and Next, whether I'm attached to it or not, in a different, in a different theater, with a bigger audience. But it's a tricky one because it's such an intimate show. So you want to retain that intimacy, um, so that you can tell that story better. With Death Note, I can only hope so. I mean, if the reaction of the audience and how fast the tickets sold out is any indication, um, it better have a life in the future because, you know, I think anyone in their right mind behind the scenes will look at the Palladium and the lyric runs and say, this is a really good show to have. So hopefully it has a future life. And hopefully I'm still attached to it.
If you could stage and perform any of the shows or musicals you've been in the Philippines, which would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think Then Now and Next would be resonating a lot to Filipinos. We love those kinds of stories. We love stories of hope, and we love a good cry, and we love a good song to belt out. So yeah, and it's nice and economic as well, because it's a small show. It's an intimate orchestra. It's a small band. Um, so I think the Philippines would like that. On a bigger scale, Death Note would, I think, do really well in the Philippines as well, because of all that singing. It's gonna be like people love that. People love to sing, and just that sound and scale. And we have some theaters in the Philippines that can accommodate that kind of, you know, epic show. So yeah, I would say Then Now and Next and Death Note would be great to bring over to the Philippines, and it would be nice if I was in
I cannot imagine the shows without you.
it. That's a compliment.
There is a whole section on Death Note specific questions. Is it okay if I segue into that? Or
Yeah, let's do it. I'm surprised it took you this long.
I was trying to be polite. I wanted to do an entire thing on Death Note. So, okay. Could you please tell us about your audition process for Death Note?
um, the thing is, I didn't really audition for it. Uh, I got availability checked early in the year for it. Um, I know Nick Winston. I've worked with him a couple of times prior, and he knows my work. And he's like, "Have you heard of Death Note the musical?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Death Note, and I know that there is a musical, but was never staged in English. But I've heard some of the songs done by some dude named Jeremy Jordan." Um, and I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, okay, stay available for these dates. And then eventually the casting team, Harry Blumenau, reached out to my agent and asked for officially for my availability. And they asked me to send but Harry and Nick, they know me. They know they've they've cast me in other shows as well, so they know what I do and they know my body of work, which is a nice thing to be in this industry when the casters know you and creatives know you and they speak highly of you and know your work. It's always a good place to be in. Um, asked for my availability, and I said, "Yeah, I'm willing to. I'd love to audition for it, like because I mean I think I'm a good fit for it." The next thing I know, they just gave me the job, which is great. uh, yeah, it was a nice affirmation, not just of my work, but also how my relationship with these creatives and these casters, and it speaks a lot when they can vouch for you because of previous instances that they've worked with you. And that's always important. And one of the best advice I got from an acting coach was the way to really the secret recipe for any actor to keep working in this industry is not talent. The secret recipe is to be directable and to have a really good attitude, because people remember that. The talent, everybody has it, right? But um, your work ethic, your professionalism, your attitude behind the scenes, and your ability to listen and be directed, that's the secret sauce. So I mean, I guess they were happy with our previous work instances that and they trusted me enough to do this. But it was still a big thing because I didn't realize how big this was going to be. I just knew that, all right, it's a big role. I need to be prepared for it vocally, physically. I need to be on top of the text and the script. So I did my work. And I would like to think that's why they put me in the role. It's because they knew that they could trust me with the work. Light is such a great, complex character to play. I mean, the moral dilemma. You always want to ask, like, what would I do if I were in that position? Would I do the same thing if I had that power? Yeah, it's an age-old, universal dilemma. That's why I think why it resonates so much with people. It resonates so much because people are always thinking about that side of themselves, wherein you want to ask yourself if you would be consumed by the power if you had it. It's like what would you do with $1 million, right? Like it's the same thing. If you had a notebook that could kill people, whose name would you write? And I've gotten different answers. Some people would say immediately without blinking they'll have names to write, and I'm like, what? I got like my real self. I don't think I can write anyone's name. Like I'm too kind.
But before playing Light, did you have a favorite song from the concept album?
Hurricane, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, I'm a musical theater tenor,
Yeah.
and Hurricane probably is one of the best written songs for any musical theater tenor. I mean, Frank Wildhorn can spit out hits. He's a hit maker, right? He can make out a pop hit. He's written for Celine Dion, for Whitney Houston. Even This Is the Moment from Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, he churns out hits. Um, you can hear that in L songs, The Game Begins and The Way Things Are. These are pop hits. These are like you can put that in a James Bond movie, The Way Things Are, right? And it's gonna be perfect, right? But for musical theater, I think Hurricane is one of the most perfectly written musical theater I want songs. Um, and it happens within 10 minutes of the show. And I love that. I love that the courage in that. It sounds and feels like a finale, but it's still just at the start of the show. And it's like telling the audience, I mean, Stephen Sondheim talks about the handshake moment when you're writing a musical and you have a handshake moment with the audience because you're gonna bring them into the world that you're creating. And if that's not a handshake, I don't know what is. Like Hurricane is a handshake and then it's a grip, it's a death grip. Because after Hurricane, all the songs after are just absolutely, it gets better and better and better. And just when you think you've heard everything in Act One, Act Two happens, and there are even more stuff that happens. It's incredible. And yeah, I love how Hurricane as a theme, as a piece of writing, as uh as an I want song to perform, as a soliloquy. It's just it ticks all of my very stagey boxes. And it's so satisfying to live that song. And you've seen it thrice, and I don't think I've ever done it the same way.
No.
Uh, there's always something to flesh out in that song, and yeah, I get surprised by the song Swell sometimes. Like there was one night in one of the 10 shows that we did, I was so emotional. I don't know why. I was so emotional in Hurricane. I was like tearing up. And then I was physically shaking as well, not because of nerves but because of just living the text. and living that particular moment. So it's so fun to sing. It's just so fun to just tell that story. Um, yeah, and with the orchestration, the scenario in it, the discovery of it, um, I just killed someone. I mean, that's the context. I mean, spoiler alert, but everybody knows the story of Death Note. But I literally just murdered someone writing his name, and just all of the complexities that come with it. Um, yeah, and I think it's a lot of pressure as well because if I don't do Hurricane right, um, it's a precedent for the rest of the show. So it becomes because that's a recurring that's the theme of the whole moral dilemma uh of Light Yagami and the show. So yeah, it's I love it.
Your talent and your hurricane
Mm.
with history books. Run
Oh,
with history books, mate.
thank you. Yeah, the West Side Live bit was intense. That was a fun day.
Because you done then, now, and next the day before as well.
Yeah,
So come on the next day by yourself and smash out Hurricane as the first teaser of Death Note that people have been waiting for a decade.
yeah,
Walked off stage so coolly. Like, never fails to amaze me.
yeah. It's fun. I remember that fondly.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I
Hoping I
think,
get to sing that song again somehow. Gotta rally the note takers and all the fans to badger the Death Note team for one. So,
but has your favorite song from the Death Note album changed after performing them?
ooh, no, I think Hurricane still is at the top of my list. But then again, everything after Hurricane, they're like, I will have new favorites every day. Like, oh, that's a favorite. Ooh, that's a favorite. I love playing his game. Just the experience of doing playing his game with Dean. It's just I've never done anything like it. It's just a muscular, physical, vocally impressive song, storytelling wise. And the paradox of that is we need, as actors, Dean and JP need to be supporting each other, and no one's dropping the ball for 1 second. We need to have each other's back, literally, on stage, because that's the only way that song will work. If someone's not breathing at the same time, if someone's not supporting the other person at any given moment, it's going to fall apart. Um, so it's a true team effort between me and Dean. And Dean's so lovely to play off against. Like he's an incredible talent of vocals for days. But then even if vocally we're so different, what I love about it is when we sing together, it's another level of like, it just comes to our voices come together really nicely. And yeah, I know um you can record this and then you can send it to him. He's gonna love this. But it's there's a trust that comes with Dean that is very hard to find. And it's like I know that he's not gonna let me fall in that scene or in the whole show. He's not gonna leave me hanging. And even if our characters are at odds with each other, as actors, it's a nice dynamic to have because we got each other, and I think the audience sees that and feels that. And it's the only way Ellen Light can survive this behemoth of a show. You got to be taking care of each other, and with Dean, I know that he's not gonna let me fall, and vice versa. Thing is, we've never worked together. We know each other, and we trained. We had a workout session where I almost injured myself because I wanted to catch up with him. Um, that's my ego talking. Uh, yeah, but we just kind of clicked, and we have some common friends that were actually saying, you and Dean will actually click as really good friends, and we did. So we were just in touch, and he's out in the north or working, and vice versa. I'm touring, but he did King and I playing Linta in the Palladium in the West End with Kelly O'Hara and Ken Watanabe. And then when that went on tour, I I was in the ensemble covering Lunta, and that was my international tour, and went to Japan as well. Um, so I know the tracks. I think I was wearing at one point his wig on tour. So I mean, it's that. But the thing is, you don't have shows that will have two Asian men as leads until Death Note. So it's funny because we'd probably be cast in similar roles, or we'd be up for the same role. Um, I remember one show that we were both actually up for the same role. Uh, but neither of us got it, I think. Yeah, I think someone else got it. But it's one of those, right? And until Death Note, wherein you can actually, be together on the same stage and have this incredible uh rapport and vocal score to sing to each other and at each other's faces. And it's fun.
It was so perfectly cast, and you guys all brought your own personal little quirks and the parts that we loved of the character's life. I mean, Dean in particular with his little legs, and it was just so subtle, but
Yeah.
it was so meaningful, and we've loved it, honestly, as an audience.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you. This is a funny story with Dean. We had first time we met each other in person, we had coffee. He was like, "You're literally me." He looks at me like, "You're literally me." Yeah, that was a funny uh first bro date, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, just because we love the work as well, we love the craft, and you just find that kind of relationship with kindred spirits, with people who love the craft as much as you do. So
So, how did it feel to bring Death Note, an anime, a Japanese anime manga, to an UK audience?
fantastic. Like, it's one thing to bring a Japanese title to the stage. It's another to bring it to an English language audience, and it's another thing for it to be received so flippin' well. Like, and it's just like a nice reminder to the producers that these stories led by Asian characters can sell. And yeah, I think it's quite redemptive, and it's quite liberating, and it's quite affirming, all of those things, that a Japanese or East Asian story and concept is so commercially viable, and it was selling out, as proven by the Palladium and the lyric. Like, so I love catching people by surprise. I love it when, like, people, the old guards, or the gatekeepers, who will never have thought something like this could sell, are proven wrong. And our producers, CDM, they're great. They're young, they're scrappy, they're energetic, they're risk takers, and they're just as excited as we are. And it's nice. It's nice to feel like we're part of something that's disrupting the business. And we like a disruptor. Things innovate, and um, new things happen when a disruptor enters, when a spanner enters the picture. And Death Note is a disruptor in all aspects, not just as a show, but as a business, as a model, an audience, a brand new audience. It's disrupting the game, which is an exciting thing, and it gives you a glimpse into the future of musical theater.
I think it was especially commendable that it was not just all the actors who were Asian, but like the cast, the creatives. That was
Yeah,
such a
yeah.
exciting feat. And obviously, in the terms of diversity in mainstream musicals, I think Death Note has set a standard and proved everyone wrong. So I think just
It's not even like, it's not even a box ticking thing.
yeah.
The diversity in the band, in the creative team, they're there because they're at the top of their game. They're there because they're really, really good. You know what I mean? And not because it was a box to tick. And that's really really important to note. Like they can go on and do any job and excel, whether it's an Asian story like Death Note or not. They're going to be at the top of the game. The diversity and the just the flippant talent of the band, like in the Sits probe, like I that's my only like little regret in the concert is that the audience didn't get to see this band because they're incredible. Like to see them perform and do this epic sound and score, the Sits probe is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And you can ask anyone on Death Note what that Sits probe was like. What people were crying in the Sits probe that weren't even part of the cast. We had guests in the Sits probe sitting in, and people were in tears. It's unlike anything, and just to watch this incredible band from different backgrounds and different disciplines just rock it out. It's so nice and special to be a part of.
And also because you guys have young musical graduates, I think from Rachel, who's making her debut,
Yeah,
to Adam, who is a Broadway legend. Like you guys
yeah,
have such a beautiful variety of people, and it was just so stunning to see you guys all come together and create the
yeah.
show.
We had a couple of West End debutantes
Yeah.
in the cast, and we would do like a little circle for them when at the Palladium, and just gather them around, put them in the middle of a circle, and just give them good vibes for their West End debut. And it's nice as it's nice for them to debut with Death Note, because across the board it was such a great experience. And it's something that will definitely be etched in their memories as they go into future jobs.
Did you guys ever expect the overwhelming, positive, amazing 5-star reviews that Death Note would get?
Um,
So the transfer to Lyric Theatre and the addition of shows every day.
no, honestly, no. I knew that we had something special. I knew that it was special enough for us to gather and say, you know what, let's do the best that we can do because this is a good show to put our hearts and minds to. Like this is something that deserves our full effort. 200 100,000% effort, and everybody was working hard in the room. Everybody was giving their A game to make this the best that it could be. We didn't know what the reaction was going to be. And so when the one is when the stage door happened, we're like, what is going on? And then next is when the review started to come on, and everybody was just reviewing it. People who knew the manga, who knew the anime, and people who didn't, who people just musical theater goers, um, that were reviewing it, and like, what is going on? Like, it was really, really, really like humbling and just mind-boggling. And again, we just rode that wave, and we just kept going, knowing that. Again, I need to say though that the audience in Death Note is probably one of the best audiences I've ever performed to. They're so well behaved, they're so eager, and you can feel them, like the love and the they want you to do really well. It was just emanating from the seats. It was just brimming with everybody was listening to every word. Everyone was just wanting the best to come out of the stage. And it's such a nice audience to perform for because they're already on your side. Um, and the pressure is, do we do justice to the characters that they already love? Right. And it's so exciting. It's so different. It's not a critical audience. It's not oh, I'm going to sit back and have my eyebrows raised and see if they're doing a good job. None of that. It is like, we want you to do good. Please bring life to these characters we already love. And we did. And that relationship, that symbiotic relationship with the audience is just unlike anything I've ever done before. It's also like a darker Aladdin. Like, if you had three wishes, what would you wish for? Like, it's so many universal themes that we are familiar with and we keep toying around with. So, yeah. Anyway,
What is 3 things that you'll take away from the Death Note experience?
three things that I will take away. Hmm. Um, the company, first and foremost, incredible company, top to bottom. We had producers that really cared for us. Um, we had, a wardrobe team, a sound team, a lighting team that really cared about the show, stage management, you know, backstage crew, the band, people that don't really get the thanks, including the cast and the office of CDM, everybody. That's what I'm going to take away. Company, because it was just an ideal company to work for, and work with, because it really genuinely felt like we were all on one team, um, going toward a goal. So that's number one, the company. The second I'm going to take away is this incredible show. The music, the characters that we get to breathe life into, the way it's written, Frank Wildhorn, Ivan, and Jack, whatever, how they created this show, and how it's resonating to all of us and making us as actors be the best that we can be through it. Um, a bonus thing is that it's East Asian actors that are playing East Asian roles. So that's a bonus. But then set this in any other world, it would still have the same effect because it's just such a good show. And last, I'll take with me the note takers, the fans, because they're the triumvirate. It none of this will work. None of the first two will work if we didn't have this audience that was just so loving and so generous in their reception of it, and demanding for more. And I can only hope that that demand grows larger and larger as the days go by, um, so that it compels the company to bring it back. So yeah, the company, the show, and the note takers.
So much for, putting up with me for an hour and a bit and just
Yeah,
bugging you and spamming you with questions and
thank you.
a
Thanks
lot
for
of Death Note.
yeah. Let's give the note takers what they want.
Now for the fun bit.
The rapid fire one.
Rapid fire round.
Let's do it. Okay.
Hurricane or 30?
Hurricane or 30? Hurricane.
30-year-old Steven or 17-year-old Light?
Ooh, 30-year-old Steven.
Did not see that one coming. Okay. Rem or Ryuk?
Ram or Ryuk? Hard. Ryuk.
New writing or mainstream musicals?
New writing.
Favorite potato chip brand and flavor?
Ah. Oh my God. Chili heat wave Doritos. It's not even potato chip. It's a corn chip, but I think that's fine.
Technicalities, I'll allow it. Personally, Team L or Team K?
Ah, that's a good one. Um, Team L. Personally, because I want him to catch the bad guy.
Fair enough. Favorite restaurant in London?
Oh, there is a Turkish restaurant that my wife and I love called Capital in Hammersmith. Yeah, it's really good. I absolutely love lamb ribs, and it's so good. It's really quality. It's the best.
Theater shows or movies and TV?
Hmm. Theater shows.
If you had to cosplay as one of the character from Death Note, who would it be?
If I had to cosplay as one of the characters, who would it be? L.
If you could have sung one other solo song from Death Note, who would it have been? Obviously not yours.
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm gonna put two answers. I want to do um The Game Begins or Honor Bound. I want to dance. I'm ready,
I
but
believe there is footage of you attempting that online
I did
somewhere.
that and failing miserably. But I think I'm a little bit better at it now. So
Okay. If you found Death Note, would you use it?
no,
Good. Your absolute favorite musical of all time.
Death Note.
Your absolute favorite musical of all time, apart from Death Note.
Oh, it's so hard. Oh, I no, not hard. Sunday in the Park with George.
A standout memory working with Dean.
Standout memory where you there's a lot. Playing his game. Uh, the whole thing about that song, learning it from the get go until ultimately performing it with him every night.
Favorite mess up or corpsing moment on stage.
When Dean, after he shoots himself, drops the gun and it bounces, and it happened a couple of times. And I need to retrieve the gun so that I can, try and shoot Ryuk in the end. But yeah, it bounces, and I do a long journey around his dead body looking for the gun. And you see Dean trying to signal, to point at where the gun landed because it's gone to the wing or wherever. And yeah, that's one of my favorite moments. I'm like, Dean, like
Craziest fan interaction at stage door or gift that you've been given.
uh I don't like calling my fans crazy. That's one. Uh well, I got some paper flowers from you. That's interesting. Um I I love the art, like all of this fan art. So someone gave me a watercolor portrait of me as Kira. That was like, what? I mean, and because I paint. So for someone, and I know how much time that takes. And for them to really devote that much time to really try and capture you in a piece of art. And because I'm also an artist, I know the amount of love that takes. And because they wanted to do something to reciprocate what they felt while watching us, that's a big deal. That I really take that seriously. So I'm actually really thankful for these artworks, these fan art, like, and some of the fan art of the Death Note fans are incredible. Like, what? These are really good, like, artists. So,
The name of your next musical.
mm.
Okay, I was really hoping you wouldn't finish it.
Good try though. Yeah, I mean, again, this is the least I could do to interact and to really catch up with people who find our work worth celebrating, and it's always a good thing. So thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you so much, Ovia, and thank you, Adventures in Theaterland. May you continue to prosper and watch more shows and review them and spread the word about musical theater and theater in general. All right. Bye. Bye. Thank you.